So this is kind of an unplanned video. Basically, ever since I started my woodworking journey, I've wanted a table saw because in my mind it was a lot more convenient and faster to work with than a circular saw. And so when I saw this Ryobi 10-inch table saw on Facebook Marketplace for $30, I kind of made an impulsive purchase. You know that thing salespeople do where they're like, if you don't buy this now, the sale ends today and you're never gonna get it again? That's basically what happened to me and this table saw. The guy selling it on Facebook was moving out of the city the very same day I saw this listing. So I kind of panicked, and a few hours later I brought home my very first table saw, and that's when the problems began. Hi, my name is Emily and I am an amateur woodworker. Behold, my new table saw. I mean, it's new to me, but it's definitely not new. Blade definitely needs to be changed. It's missing a few components which I didn't realize until after I brought it home and looked at the operator's manual that luckily did come with it. Did I mention that this was $30 already? This was $30. It was very local. It's definitely a bit of a fixer-upper, but it does work. The owner did show us that it does work with the exception of the power button being broken. So if I can fix that, that would be nice. There is a way to bypass this power button being broken, which is just attaching an extension cord that has a power button on it, but it just would be nice if I could get this to work. Oh yeah, and it's definitely missing the saw guard, missing very clearly. The previous owner did not use their dust collector bag. It is brand new, completely clean. It's also missing this little knob that holds the angling thing in place. Hopefully I can find a way to make it work anyway. Anyway, I'm here to figure out how this rotating handle works. And I definitely saw a page in here going over that. You see how this level thing is supposed to go all the way to the right? This thing does not want to move at all. The rip fence thing does still work. Some kind of bug cocoon down here. Oh wow, you can see how dirty it is on the inside. I guess I need to flip this thing over and take a look at the undercarriage. And just like very generally, give this whole thing a very thorough cleaning. Oh boy, quite dirty in there. Look at this. Spider webs galore. I definitely burst some kind of egg sac in this corner here. I put it outside where it was crawling with a bunch of little bugs. Hopefully they're okay. I just didn't want them in my machine. I think what I really need is one of those industrial grade air compressors. Now that the inside is relatively sawdust free, let's see if I can figure out what's up with the power switch and the locking mechanism. So I figured out this thing. I got the lever to be on the right side. Turns out you just have to push really, really hard. Yeah, watch that blade move. Oh, nope, it's stuck right here. All that rust over here must be doing something. So it turns out I had to use both hands to really crank this into gear, and now this blade is at 45 degrees. So confirmation that the angle of the blade does work, it just needs a little bit of lube. But I did notice earlier that I wasn't able to get the saw to raise up and down, so I'm gonna see if now that it's loosened up a bit, I can get it to work. So it does work, the up and down of the saw blade. I just had to do it with both hands again. Delicious. So this hole is where the dust collector bag would go if the guy I got it from ever used it. Inside is completely filled with dust. So the previous owner just left the whole table saw out in the backyard in the elements. That's why it's covered in rust and why handles like this are completely stuck in place. So, excuse me, I'm sorry for disturbing your home, but I'm unfortunately going to have to evict you. So the saw is not supposed to be able to turn on once you take the safety key out, but it does, so that's something that's I definitely really want to fix. So I pulled this out and I don't understand what's happening, but I'm gonna try to figure it out. So I took it completely apart, and according to Google, according to YouTube, if I sand the soot off of this little connecting bit right here, it might fix it. So I'm gonna do that very carefully. All cleaned up. I also cleaned up the inside connector here. If this works, I will be very impressed, and if it doesn't, well, I tried my best. So, moment of truth, the key is not plugged in, so it should not be able to turn on. clearly that did not work. So I cleaned both of these contact points, and I also parallel switched the connectors on the inside because Google said you could try doing that, and I'm really hoping this works. Guess what, guys? It's plugged in and it's not turning on. But let me try inserting the key just to make sure I didn't just completely destroy the machine. Okay. Oh, I'm really scared. Oh my god. I did it. Oh, I feel like a real mechanic. I know that this is not a long-term fix because eventually it'll probably run into the same problem again. But for now, this will work for what I need it to. Now that this hurdle is out of the way, I'm going to take a break, read the manual, figure out how that thing works. So this Avanti one is definitely cheaper, but apparently Diablo is a better brand, so I finally got the throat plate open, and the confounding thing is that this blade does not look like a 10-inch blade. Let me get a ruler. How messed up is it that I don't have an inch ruler around here? Yeah, I think it's a 7.5-inch blade, which I didn't know you could do that, but I guess it makes sense. In any case, I need to get this blade out and replace it with my brand new one. So for now, we've put in my dad's old 7.25-inch saw blade just to see if it would work, and later I'm going to test it by cutting some of my plywood. Also, look at how messed up and rusty this blade is. Yikes. The calibration on my table saw is completely off. So you see the blade is here. So 0 should be matched up to here. But here is 15 and 0 is all the way here. I don't really know how this was put together and how it could be so miscalculated. I'm gonna try to fix it, and if it doesn't work, I guess I'll just do some hand measuring, which I don't want to do. Like, the whole point of me getting a table saw is that I won't have to hand measure everything. I'm assuming this lever does something. Okay, that scared me a second. Another one on the other side. But at last, none of the levers would budge, so I had to get some help from my dad once again. So I didn't get any of that process on camera because it took way too long, and I feel like it would just be really boring. Get that out of the way. The answer to all my problems was brute forcing it with a hammer, which my dad helped me a lot with. And now it should be finally fully calibrated and ready to be actually used. So hopefully I'll get to do that soon. About to try out my saw for the first time. Wish me luck. Hi, so it's actually been a few days. I was busy meeting up with friends and stuff. I did not manage to film any of the sawing process because it was my first time using the table saw, and I did not feel very safe attempting to film it at the same time. I had a lot of supervision, thank you to my brother and my dad, and I did have eye protection on, and I had push sticks. But it was a very harrowing experience, I must say. But I can use a circular saw pretty comfortably now, so I know that I can get to that level of comfort with the table saw as well, eventually. So my dad happened to have a 7.25-inch saw blade, so we ended up using that instead of the new blade that I got. And it seems to be working out fine. The blade has been used before, but it seems like it hasn't been used enough to get it dull or anything. And I think that's fine for now because I'm not really ripping anything that's more than even 2 inches really. I'm not ripping anything super thick, so it'll be fine to just use a smaller blade. But yeah, basically what we tried to do was rip some of the thinner plywoods that I plan to be cutting on this table saw. The edges aren't getting super torn out or anything, so that's good. I did get pretty scared anytime I had to cut anything smaller than 2 inches because then my fingers are pretty close to the saw blade, and that is really scary. So it'll definitely take me a while to get used to the feeling of using the table saw, feeling comfortable enough to even do like an angled cut or a miter cut. But yeah, hopefully over the next few days, I can start using it more, get better at using it, and then I can finally actually cut the pieces of wood that I'm gonna use for the project. Milo. Why there have to be such a big freaking truck right in front of my house when I do this? Okay, go. Oh, I didn't plug it in. So with copious amounts of help from my sister and my dad, I managed to cut out some of the basic pieces I need. 6x8 frame, 3x2 little pieces. I definitely feel myself getting more comfortable with using the table saw now that I've experienced how to deal with and avoid kickback and how to get clean cuts using tape, very helpful. And my sister imparted a lot of great wisdom on me, including how I shouldn't use both fences at the same time and how clamping a piece of wood here ensures that your pieces are all the same length. So that's been super duper helpful. I feel much less scared about using the saw now. Still a bit nervous, of course, because just look at it. Look at it. Do you like my woodworking pen? Isn't it so cute? Really screams woodworking, I know. So I was thinking that maybe today is the day I'm comfortable enough with the table saw to actually feel myself using it. So that's kind of an abrupt end to this video, but yeah, that is the end of the beginning of my relationship with dear Nina here. Yes, I named it Nina. In fact, where should I put this? There, it's official. Was working with the table saw as glamorous and easy as I thought it was? Not really. I still had to do a lot of hand measuring myself and it took forever for me to cut anything. That little pile of wood took me 2 whole hours because that's just how much of a noob I am. But I am very excited to have this machinery in my arsenal now. Could I technically have afforded one of those several $100 brand new table saws? Yes. But the thing is, I wasn't totally sure if I would even like having a table saw. So it would feel like a huge gamble if I just casually dropped hundreds of dollars on a new machine. So $30 is a pretty good compromise, I guess you'd call it, even though I had to do a lot of servicing on this machine. But in the end, it was usable. It was a fun experience to figure out how this machine worked. I'm learning a lot from my sister and my brother and my dad, and I'm hoping to be even more comfortable with using this in the future. And yeah, that's the end of this video. I'll see you guys in the next one where I'll show you the actual thing I was cutting the wood for. Bye!